Well, here I am taking a look at a few more FreeTigers. Purchased these guys through Amazon. They came, three wildly different times, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and go left to right here. So we'll move these two out the way. And this one has G10, and wow, the peel ply on this is intense. This is maybe right around Spyderco, if not kind of bordering a little bit more on Emerson, kind of super, super rough texture. So it's going to give you a lot of grip. You don't have any landing patch for the pocket clip, though, so that's kind of unfortunate, and it'll probably tear the absolute crap out of your pants over time. But yeah, we got a little flipper tab as the only way to deploy it here. And yeah, this was the FT901, and it's in D2. And it seems to be doing a fairly decent job of being D2, with regards to how difficult it was to sharpen. I've done some cutting on it, and it hasn't dulled, but, not a full cut test or anything like that. And yeah, we got kind of fairly neutral. Actually kind of reminds me a little bit of the CJRB Centros, because you have this little platform for the last two fingers to be there. But it's fairly comfortable. The pocket clip I'll certainly get to, because that kind of does detract just a little tiny bit from it. But yeah, this thing does come with just a little bit of pockets or lock stick. It seems like it's kind of slowly working its way out. One thing that I will say about this guy is this particular pivot here. It's only one-sided here, and I cannot for the life of me actually get this off. It is permanently Loctited, and or maybe also with some adhesive and whatnot put on the other side of the G10 there. So absolutely no way at all could I actually get this open. I've tried doing several things with heat, like taking a hair dryer to it, and yeah, this pivot, which it is a T8, it just ends up wanting to strip and bounce out. So there's just absolutely no way that I can get in there. So I couldn't really adjust it. We don't really have any blade play though, so that's okay, as long as you're fine with not actually maintaining this thing in the future. It does have bearings, and with pretty much everything else from FreeTiger, they're going to be steel bearings, not ceramic, which, I really don't have all that much of a preference for. I guess ceramic bearings don't actually wear out anywhere near as fast as steel bearings, but for whatever reason, a lot of times, steel bearings kind of feel a little nicer to me. So, yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of a observation there. We do have some stepping. This one is in green and black. They also do have full green and full black, but I kind of like the two-tone sort of thing going on there. So it's got some steppings on the front and back there on both sides. We have a large open hole for your lanyard stuff. A lot of QSPs will do sort of similar things there. And this one doesn't really have a backspacer, just a couple of standoffs there. And, yep, the blade is buried super, super deep in there. So even if you really wanted to cut yourself with it closed, it's not going to happen. So that's great. And, yeah, as we can kind of take a look on the inside, yeah, it does have a decent amount of skeletonization going on in there. That's not to say that this is a light knife. But that probably also has to do a little bit with the blade length and all of that stuff as well. So this pocket clip, kind of like the YX 622 that I had taken a look at before, has some standoffs for it. That always worries me. This one hasn't given me problems yet, but it's very, very easy for these things to have problems. Like if a screw doesn't reach down super far or attach decently well enough, you catch your pocket on, you catch your pocket clip on any of that, and you're probably saying goodbye to the pocket clip as well as the hardware and everything like that goes along with it. So not exactly the absolute strongest mounting mechanism. It's generally why a lot of people don't do the standoff things, but that being said, it is a little bit different way for you to get a relatively deep pocket carry out of it without doing a folded over clip or whatnot and still having, some sort of stuff there. This isn't a super deep carry, as you can see. We still got probably about a ½ inch or so kind of sticking up out of there. And yeah, it's nice and smooth. Like all the liners are nice and knocked down. There's no crazy edges or anything kind of going like that in there. This one has an internal liner lock relief. Kind of interesting, certainly not necessary, but why not? I like it. I like it more on liner or on frame locks. That's the word with the F. Yeah. We do have a pocket sort of guy that stick out a little bit here. That's just kind of the nature of most flippers. We have just the slightest bit of slop in the detent there, but does hold on to the blade nice, so it flings that blade out pretty darn well. The lock stick is a little bit annoying, but like I said, it'll work itself out over time. We got some scallops kind of going on in here, super easy to get the access onto any of that. The action on it's not super great, but and I have a feeling I could probably clean it out and get a lot better action kind of going on with it, but I can't get it open. That being said, when it is in an unlocked position, you can kind of feel a little bit of shift with the bearings before they start to roll with it. So it does feel like it's a little, loose when you're in the middle of closing it. But once it's, closed or open, it's perfectly fine. I would say probably just due to, the hardware with the pocket clip, which actually does a decent job of getting out of the way. But still, those standoffs aren't exactly the most comfortable thing. But between that and the fact that you can't disassemble this to do maintenance on it, I would say probably go ahead and skip this because, FreeTiger does make better knives in general. So, next one we have up here, this is another FT. This one's kind of an interesting blade shape. Very much a reverse Tonto-ish kind of thing going on here. But, if you did knock off this extra notch here that they ended up just putting some grinds on it, then it would look a little bit more like a traditional reverse Tonto. But yeah, this is the FT908. This is also in D2 and G10. This is fully black. I think they also had like a gray and possibly a green one going on. And yeah, I do like this one quite a bit more than the other guy here. A little bit less texturing, but we have more milling kind of going on here. So we do have a swell in the middle. And quite the deep carry pocket clip kind of going on there. You just have a little bit of a nub kind of sticking up there. Unfortunately, the detent is not exactly the best, as you can see. Now, actually giving it a bit of gusto when you're opening the thing up. You can still open it without any problems there and without giving a whole bunch of wrist. And you can also spidey flick it because of the large hole. And you could also kind of rotate it open with your thumb if you'd like as well. The blade on this one, like I said, yeah, it's D2, and it does a pretty darn good job of being D2 as well. FreeTiger's done a pretty darn good job on the heat treat on their D2 and their 14C28N. So that's pretty cool. We can take a look on the inside of this thing. This one did come with some schmutz like all over it. it was rather foggy looking, so it wasn't like Vaseline necessarily. It was certainly a corrosion inhibitor sort of thing, but because of that, the action wasn't super duper amazing when I first got it. But once I disassembled it, then yeah, this guy is pretty darn close to fall shut, as long as you just give him just a little tiny bit of a nudge there. So yeah, this thing is pretty interesting. Still, kind of weird that it has kind of like a rhino horn kind of going on here, but still a very, very functional blade. But yeah, why not? We'll go ahead and open this guy up. These guys are T6 hardware, except for the pivot screw, which is T8. So not my favorite, but it is what it is, and most companies are still doing that. So there's pocket clip off. And a pivot screw. So yeah, it's G10. Nothing super special to see about that particular part. Let's see if I can't coax this thing into coming apart for me. Come on, buddy. There we go. Yeah. So the liners in this one, just like the other one, but I couldn't really show you all that well, they are very, very nicely knocked down and kind of smoothed basically everywhere that you have the ability to touch. So that's super nice. In this case, the bearings for it do ride in the liners, so they ride on the blade rather than kind of the other way around that some others do. But yeah, it's personal choice. And at least if you're going to do that for access lock kind of blades, I do prefer that because it makes it easier to get all of those in there. We do have a little bit of skeletonization kind of going on here. No D-shaped pivot or anything like that. Nothing super special. And, oh, that was the... give me that stop pivot. There we go. But yeah, like I said, once I got in here and kind of cleaned everything up, then yeah, the action on this thing is super, super nice. Unfortunately, like I did show you, the detent is not super, super nice, at least at the moment. This is certainly one that I will go ahead and play around with, trying to improve that. First way I would probably try to do that is bend the lock bar sort of thing, so it has a little bit more pressure to it. But you can also kind of tell a little bit with these guys. I'll get some screws back in here first, but I can kind of show you a little bit if you do end up seeing these detent issues. Steel backspacer on this thing, since I missed mentioning that before. Kind of an interesting choice. One you don't really see all that often because it does actually add quite a bit of weight to it. But yeah, if you can, let's see if we can't get on in there. See, yeah, at least doesn't look like I can get a super, super great kind of look there. But if you can see quite a bit of space between the little detent ball down there that's supposed to sit on the blade and where that sits, they're supposed to sit almost flush with each other. But if you see that being proud, then that's kind of a thing that kind of tells you you might need to do just a little tiny bit of modification on your knife. And that's basically with the detent hole. And I've done that on a couple of knives. You kind of use just a little diamond kind of conical drill bit sort of thing there. And you do it very, very small bursts and put it back together. Because if you overdo it, then you're going to get slop in there, and it's just gonna not quite sit flush. So you know, it's not gonna have the blade open on you or anything like that. It's not gonna weaken that, but you're gonna feel it wiggle and whatnot. You don't really want that. But yeah, this one's not too bad, except for the fact that in my particular case, the detent just needs a little bit of work. All right. Oh, I should probably put the clip back on this little thing too, huh? Yep. Can't really swap that for lefties. Sorry. It's a right man's world. You just live in it. I hope y'all enjoy me struggling to get that going, but there, I did it. Hooray. Do want to loosen that up just a little bit. I didn't want to have them fully tightened. That way this one can actually get in there. There we go. So yeah, these barrel spacers have screws that come in on both sides, with the barrel spacers there in the middle that both of them screw into, which can help you out a little bit if yeah, you are a little bit off center on your blade or whatnot. That way you can you know, loosen them all up and whatnot to kind of fix some of the tensions going on there that would cause that to be off. And that means we're down to this one. And yeah, this is the FT21. I took a look at the 31 a little while ago. This is much smaller knife and, you know, orange. But this one came in black and brown. And sure, I'll go for brown. Why not? This is a bit more robust than that other one. We do have that access lock there. And we do have thumb studs for it, for deployment. Now this one actually does remind me a lot of the Tucson TS220 Nautilus or whatever from Jelly Jerry, and the fact that it does have this nice thumb groove up here in the top that you know, it nestles in super nicely. But this one also has forward finger choil that's quite large, maybe just slightly smaller than I would personally prefer, but you know, I could always fix that up a little bit and it'll be perfectly great for that. So you can still have it back here, or you can also move your thumb up there too. So you have quite a few different grip options. This one is in D2, so it's not 14C28N, but that's perfectly fine with me. This one has black on the blade. I do believe they also do satin versions. You got a little bit of jimping kind of going on the G10 backspacer back here for you know, any of your reverse tactical grip kind of things going on if you'd like that. Yeah, we also have basically all black hardware kind of going on, and this one also had some pretty decent action out of the box, but once I actually kind of open them up and clean things out, this thing is yeah, super wiggly when the lock bar isn't engaged. And the springs on these aren't incredibly strong, so yeah, you can go ahead and do that with you know, a single thumb rather than having to pinch it to be able to do that, which I end up having to do on quite a few knives from like Gonzo and stuff like that. So that one does help me out a little bit. It doesn't quite, it's still a little difficult to do with just your index finger, which is something that I've gotten used to on my Benchmade 940. That being said, the Omega springs in that knife are just as old as it is, which is coming up on 20 years old, I think. So, yeah, which means that they could probably stand to use a little bit of replacement. But that being said, you know, if I could basically send it back to them and have them replace the blade on it or whatever. That would be nice because where you at, buddy? There you are. You're on the very bottom. Because yeah, this thing is a shadow of its former height, since it's been ground and sharpened many times over the years. But yeah, this is what I'm talking about with the Omega springs in this one just being pretty amazing. That way, a lot of times with this one, I will get my hand around it, so when I pull it out of my pocket, I can just kind of pull back a little bit with my index finger, and it deploys super quickly. But yeah, guess what? We are going to take a look on the inside of this thing. You know, access locks aren't something that I really do suggest everybody get up in there and dissect. They are a little bit finicky, but this one is built a little bit differently, so we can kind of go over a little bit of what's different about that and how that makes it just a little bit easier to kind of maintain things. You do actually want to pay attention to where the screws go on this one, because they are a little finicky about that. But yeah, so the G10 can just come right off. No super crazy latching or anything kind of going on there. We got the little cutout for it for the Omega springs here. Nothing super crazy in there. We do have an internal screw here, which is also T6. Basically everything on this is a T6. Let's see. I'm going to basically put my little spudger underneath that, but keeping my thumb on there and kind of turn that. And that way, your Omega springs don't yeet across the room and you can never find them again without a vacuum cleaner or potentially your feet in the middle of the night. Okay, so yeah, this one's a little bit different in that you can actually unscrew the crossbar on there, which I've seen before. Cold Steel had actually done that on their old Recons before they started using the triad lock, when they were still using a bastardized version of the access lock. But for that, this actually makes it an access lock that you can easily disassemble without doing the crazy trying to shove the blade back in there. But yeah, we can see we got steel bearings on in the nylon sort of stuff going on in there. We have a pretty robust blade stop, as well as a blade pen for it being in the open position there. We can also see that, yeah, we got plenty of space to not end up cutting ourselves when the thing's closed. And yeah, it's not actually going to come into contact with any of the G10 backspacer there. So that actually makes this thing a super treat to be able to disassemble. Now the other side, you can basically do the same thing. There's another Omega spring in there and the same sort of thing. But yeah, this is super easy to just go ahead and close back up. I will say these whole screw kind of things for the access lock probably doesn't make them the strongest access lock ever. But, for ease of maintenance, that's pretty darn fantastic. Alright, so, yep, here's that. This one didn't come with a Loctite on there, but I did apply some, and it works super well. Alright, and then, yeah, I did have a little bit of a trouble trying to get this middle screw in, basically on both sides. They're very short, and it would basically not start threading until I actually had all of the other screws kind of in place. And then it will actually thread in there, if you're super lucky. This one's not, but if I throw the pocket clip on, it'll probably end up giving me enough pressure. So yeah, as you can see, the hardware, not exactly the absolute best, but that seems to happen on a whole lot of these budget knives. You know, if that screw was just a little tiny bit longer, might not have those troubles. But yeah, let's go ahead and try this again. No, I did fight around and play around with it a bit, and it did actually end up biting and getting in there. So yeah, something to certainly keep in mind if you are worried about a lot of hardware. Like I said, I'll play around with that a little bit more. It's not stripped on the inside or anything like that. It's just that these screws are just a little bit shorter than they probably should be. That being said, putting a lot of pressure on it doesn't really seem to help out. But yeah, like I said, I will deal with that. But that's something that you end up dealing with on a lot of budget folders, especially from these makers who don't have crazy amounts of U.S. distribution, like, you know, FreeTiger or Petrified Fish or any of that sort of stuff. This thing, you know, even though we kind of took a look on the inside there, and it has a little bit of skeletonization going on, very, very much a more hard use oriented knife. It's very solid feeling, and you know, even if you did lose these middle ones, you're still tacked on both sides, like most other G10 knives, so you probably wouldn't have any issues at all there. But yeah, very, very hard use as far as just the not the build quality, but like the build bulk, I would say, for it. It's a rather impressive piece, and it's probably why the 31 was a little bit different in that it was very much dainty. But yeah, you can see this guy's got a lot of wiggle room for it not having any blade play. But yeah, so I guess I can go ahead and get some measurements going for these guys here. Because why not? We'll start off with the FT901. And yeah, 4.46 ounces, almost 126.5 grams. So yeah, not a super lightweight. That is for sure. And then this guy, the FT908? Yeah, FT908 is yeah, just slightly more, 4.68 ounces, or like 132.5 grams. Which I still do like this one, you know, as long as I can get that detent fixed, so I can't just do that, then, you know, we'll be all good. And for this one, also, can't get anywhere near the blade on this one either. We got 4.9, yeah, that's what I was talking about. This one does feel very, very solid. 139 grams or so. Now, all of these are fairly large. As far as the blade length goes, we can go ahead and do some of those measurements. But I'll do some thicknesses first. How about that? This guy's, yeah, basically 0.57. This one's going to be thicker than that. Yeah, 0.62 of an inch. And this guy is just right around 0.56, 0.57, somewhere right around there. So, yeah, go ahead and take a look at some blade lengths, and hopefully my thing doesn't go absolutely crazy. Yeah, we got just a touch over 3.5 inches for the FT901. So, not super duper tiny. We got just a hair longer on this one here at 3.59 essentially. So almost 3.6 inches for 908. And yeah, almost 3.75. So just a little bit longer for this guy here. And, well, we might as well go ahead and check the blade stock thicknesses on these. And this guy is basically like 3.25. This is 3.2. And, yeah, 3.25 on that. So they're not exactly the thickest blades in the world, especially compared to a lot of Tucson's that end up being right around like 3.7 or 3.8 millimeters. But yeah, they're still pretty darn decent, I think. That does kind of come down a little bit to the price on these things. Now, none of them are supremely heavy. I did just realize I left out this spring in here, so that's easy enough for me to put back in super easy. So, I saw it. Don't worry, it's gonna happen. But yeah, they are fairly affordable. Like I said, all three of these are in D2. And let's see, if I remember right, I paid, I think, $22 for this guy. Maybe 18 or 19 for this one. And this one was a little bit more at like 27. Which are all very, very reasonable as far as their prices go for kind of the build quality you're getting. Yeah, the hardware on them isn't exactly the best, and unfortunately that does happen on a lot of these more budget kind of knives here, even though we are seeing a lot more companies kind of step their game up. So that's good to see, but unfortunately these guys still have just a little bit of hardware kind of improvements that can be made. But yeah, as far as like the design on these things, they're pretty darn good. I do like the cutting experience on basically all of them. So for the price, I think they're pretty decent. But yeah, you do want to be a little bit careful when you're trying to disassemble those, and keep in mind that this one is locked up tighter than Fort Knox, so you're probably not going to be able to get that one open. But yeah, this was just kind of a fun thing since I'd taken a look at a few other FreeTigers, and these ones kind of looked a little interesting to me, and obviously they're affordable, so I figured I'd pick them up and kind of let you know what I thought about them. But yeah, so there's the FT901. The FT908, which I think will be a fantastic one as long as the detent is a little bit better on it. But I mean, the action on it is fantastic. The blade shape's great, and all of that. And yeah, if you kind of liked the look and whatnot of the FT31, but you wanted a much more burly version of it, then the FT21 is definitely something that will hook you up with some performance. All right, well, I suppose that's everything that I really had to say about these guys. Yeah, they are, there's some fun budget knives. There's not really a whole lot else to say about them. I have seen on one of the FreeTiger boxes, and it was only one of them. I don't know if it was new or old or whatever. It actually had a website just kind of on it below the hilariously English translation of things that they were trying to describe the knife as. And it was linking to a place called Topomart or Top-O-Mart or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, was curious, so I kind of went to the website, and it looks like it's a site that basically carries a lot of stuff like this. It'll have these Sanrenmu, Gonzo, um, one or two others that are escaping my mind at the moment. But yeah, I guess it's just a little bit easier to have them do distribution there through kind of something like that. But it does look like those knives still probably don't ship from the U.S., so it's a little bit basically the same sort of idea as AliExpress or something like that. So yeah, all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and let y'all get back to it. I'm gonna put this Omega spring back in the FT21, and then hopefully I can also get that center screw on the scales done. But as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, and subscribe, please.